Well, hello, Facebook Live. Um, Thanks for joining us again. I'm Brad Bodis with the Bond and Bodis Law Offices, and I'm joined by my good friend Monica Blanding, who practices in our office in Birmingham, Alabama. And I see some people are still joining in here, so we'll take just a second to get started. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping here. Um, since the COVID pandemic started up, we've begun doing these weekly Facebook Live presentations just to kind of let people know that there are solutions to the financial anxiety, the problems that are out there, and we'll continue to do them every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we just are doing this to make people make sure people have the information they need. Monica will get into more detail, but I've been trying to urge our viewers every week to be proactive. It's tough when you're home, when you're unable to work, when the bills are piling up. Some people just want to kind of cuddle up and just ignore everything, but it's important right now to be proactive and to address your issues. So we're just trying to answer questions and provide information. Bond and Bodis law offices have been helping people with financial problems for over 30 years now. I know you were probably in kindergarten or younger at the time, but we've been doing this for a long time. We help people across the state of Alabama, throughout Mississippi, and particularly in the Knoxville area in Tennessee, in the eastern part of Tennessee. And during the current COVID pandemic, we are offering absolutely free initial consultations. For your safety, we're doing them from the comfort of your home or your office. We'll do the consultations by phone or by video. In fact, we can really, if you were to retain us to represent you, we can really handle things from start to finish from your home. So it looks like we've got some people online now. So let me just start over again for our viewers. I'm Brad Bodis. I'm an attorney with the Bond and Bodis Law Offices. And joining me today is my good friend and an associate attorney with our firm, Monica Blanding. Monica's been a member of the bar now for about a year and has been practicing with us. Well, you've worked with us since before you became a member of the bar as an intern, and we were so impressed. Hired you right up, and you've been with us for about a year now, helping our clients. Monica and her husband Bertus both live in the Vestavia Hills area, just outside of Birmingham. Have 3 great kids. Monica is a Alpha Kappa Alpha, aka, correct?
That's correct. And my best friend's a Delta. I love my Delta sisters as well.
All right.
That's correct.
We're an equal opportunity provider. We help both alphas and the deltas, right? But whoever needs help, we want to be here to help.
For sure.
But no, really, Monica's been a great addition to our firm, and have enjoyed getting to meet her husband and her children, beautiful children. Still a little bit jealous, in case he's listening, that Bertus hasn't prepared any barbecue for your favorite partner with the firm yet. But we're glad to have you aboard, and thanks for joining me today, Monica.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me.
So to our viewers, again, we're doing these Facebook Live presentations once a week. Last week, we featured Gail Donaldson, who's an attorney in our office in Montgomery, Alabama, and in Opelika, Alabama. And we talked about life after bankruptcy. And yes, there is life after bankruptcy. In fact, the fresh start that bankruptcy provides really gives you a new life, a chance to start over. We've discussed different issues, and this week we decided to talk about COVID-19 and the impact it has on minorities in particular. Um, Monica, you and I have talked, and it's interesting to me. There have been stories in all the major publications um, about COVID-19 and the disproportionate impact that it has on members of the various minority communities, both here in the Birmingham area, where we're talking from today, and across the country. To our listeners, to our viewers, it seems like we're starting to climb out of things a little bit. People are starting to get back out. Some restaurants are reopening on a limited basis. So we need to get back out and deal with the issues that have amassed over the last few months. There's still not a vaccine, and COVID's still something that's going to be in our lives for probably a good couple of years anyway, Monica. But I do want to talk again specifically about COVID-19 and its impact on minorities. You and I have talked, Monica, and there have been articles in Forbes. I've got one here from USA Today, ABC News, CNN, Fox. All of the major news outlets have talked about this. And the various minority communities, Hispanic, African American, Asian, Middle Eastern, folks lose their jobs, and there are high unemployment figures, specifically for members of minority groups. So, Monica, if you could just kind of give your perspective on why this is, and how minorities are impacted.
Okay, well, Brett, as you mentioned, I mean, I've read some of those same headlines, some of those same news articles, and again, this is my opinion, and I do understand that this has impacted everyone, but specific to minorities, I think there are just a lot of underlying things, due to, I mean, things that just stem back before this even happened. But on top of those things, given maybe, just health issues that we seem to be hit with the most, things such as diabetes and, low income housing, living paycheck to paycheck, which I know other people that's not just a minority issue. However, certain issues, such as, healthcare issues, medical insurance, what Medicaid does cover, maybe what it doesn't cover, just a list of things I think, obviously play a factor, play a role, into this whole situation and how minorities are able to recover from it and how they are going to, how we're responding to it just as a group of people, specifically even local, a lot of minorities. My hairstylist, she doesn't know when she's opening her shop back up. I mean, and that's a problem for a lot of us, because I mean, our hair care, it makes a difference. I know women in general, we like to get our hair and our nails done, but I mean, just with even just different hair textures and all that, we have to keep our manes, tailed. The food service industry, I mean, some of us.
Now, I don't want you to get away from hair, because that is one advantage to getting older. See, I don't have a lot of hair issues right now, but
well,
but you're right. You were talking about the different industries that often employ minority members of different minority groups, and perhaps you could expand a little bit on that, Monica.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for instance, you can't just book an appointment. You've got to, my stylist, she can't get back in her studio, obviously, due to the amount of people that they can have in the building, and with that time frame, she's got children she has to take care of. So even if she can get maybe one or two clients in, it's still not covering enough to pay the bills. And we're talking about situations mainly where people were living paycheck to paycheck to begin with, and so then you get a stimulus check, and that's not really compensating for what your needs are, because that's maybe catching up on bills from 2 months ago when this thing all started. So anything, even for people that drive for Amazon and that are delivering packages, traveling, it's just it's hitting home. And from personal care to not being able to get not being able to get your hair to get it. There's just a
But you mentioned when we spoke earlier, you mentioned some of the other fields that are specifically impacted. I think we talked about, you mentioned, of course, personal grooming, hospitality, restaurants, bars, hotels.
right,
Those are jobs that often, as you pointed out, Monica, that often employ um, members of minority groups, and those jobs don't normally provide insurance. Those jobs don't normally provide paid time off. And, you know,
right,
a lot of those workers don't make great salaries, but they rely on tips to pay their bills. And of course, as you told me, you said you friends that are working in the restaurant business, if there's no tips, they're unable to pay their bills. And if they're not working, they're helpless.
exactly,
Um, it's the people in these categories of employment, manufacturing, agriculture, construction, that seem to have a disproportionate number of employees that come from different minority groups. And as you pointed out earlier, also health issues. Diabetes numbers seem to be high amongst minority groups. Um, it's it's something that just we need to be able to help people with, folks that are having financial problems in those sectors.
mm-hmm.
Um, I made a note here, Monica, that I thought it was important for us to talk um, just about the options that are available to people, and some of the folks you've been counseling over the last couple of months. You asked me, have I ever seen anything like this? And you've just been practicing law for about a year now. I've been at it for over 30 years. And no, Monica, in response to your question, no, I've never seen anything like it. The closest thing that I think people could relate to that are a little bit older was when Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. Of course, many of our offices are in Mississippi and Alabama, which were impacted significantly by Hurricane Katrina. And those issues caused the impact of Hurricane Katrina caused financial issues for a lot of people. But even with that, it was regional. So a lot of people relocated to other parts of the country that weren't impacted quite the same. With COVID, we're all impacted. Now, there may be hot spots like New York, New Orleans, again, New Orleans like Katrina, but areas that are impacted a little bit more significantly. And that may also explain the disproportionate impact on minorities, because we know that in large, highly populated areas, there tend to be large pockets of members from different minority groups. I always find it important when having these discussions. We don't want to stereotype about any group, but you do find in large, highly populated areas where the impact of COVID has been the highest, that there are large minority groups, and a lot of those folks had the type jobs you mentioned earlier.
Right.
But in your opinion, will it be difficult for these people, Monica, to regain employment, to get back to work once things start to clear up a little bit?
I honestly think so, and I think that people are needing answers. They're gonna want help, and what type of solutions, what do we have available for them? Or, I mean, what options are there to kind of help people get back on their feet so that they can be proactive? Because I mean, fear is something that is not easy to get rid of, especially when financial issues are at the front of everything, and then you start worrying about your relationships. Obviously people that have children, and I know for me, in a lot of other minorities, we're taking care of, we if someone needs something that's older, or older family members, or family members in general. It's there are a lot of minorities that do take care of the elderly, or their aging family members. So um to answer your question, as far as going back into the workforce, if it's going to be difficult, I think so, because I don't think anything will be the same after this, from shaking hands to order, to not sitting so closely to each other in restaurants. And I think a whole set of rules and guidelines are going to be established once this ends. And I don't know that it will ever end 100% into that, with people suffering through such a pandemic, this crisis. I don't think that things will go back to the way that they were in the workforce, especially with these types of jobs. So that's my honest opinion about that. But I do know that there are options, and we have help. There's a solution to it. I don't have a solution of making things go back to the way they were, but
Yeah, it's even the folks that are working in the hospitality industry, even though hotels and restaurants are starting to open,
right,
people are still cautious about going out to eat or staying in hotels. So um, those businesses won't be rehiring as many people
right,
as quickly. And there just won't be as many of those type jobs available quickly. So there's not going to be a hard end, or everything's not just going to go back to the way it used to be. Um, and we want to be here to help people. And that's really why we're doing these presentations every week, Monica, and why I wanted you to be here to answer questions for me. So just to recap again, for anybody just logging in, my name is Brad Bodis, and um, Monica is with me today, and we're here. Monica Blanding is here with me today, and we're here to talk about um, money issues, financial issues. The Bond and Bodis law offices, which are in Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee, have been helping people with financial issues for over 30 years. And if you need help, we're available. We're offering free consultations in all of our offices, all of our attorneys, um, just so that you can reach out and get answers to your questions. Don't sit back, reach out, ask for help. We're doing these Facebook Live presentations to answer questions online. We'll be doing them every Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Central Standard Time, for the indefinite future, to provide information. We encourage you, if you have friends or family members that may be experiencing some of the financial issues that have come with COVID, that You encourage them to listen to our presentations, and even if they can't listen live, each of these are available on our Facebook page from the beginning. Again, we've done these weekly on different topics, and we try to respond to questions. And so we are getting some questions here, and we'll get to those in just a second for you, Monica. So again, if you need help, you can ask for help in one of two ways right now. We'll try to get our toll-free number up here on the screen for you, but you can go to our website, which is bond, B-O-N-D, and A-N-D, BOTES, BOTES.com. We have a great amount of information on our website, and it's completely searchable. And importantly, when you get to that website, there's a form you can fill out if you'd like a free consultation. Or you can call our offices at any time to schedule a free consultation. One of our appointment specialists will walk you through what you need to get the appointment set up. And during this current pandemic, if you're not comfortable coming into one of our offices, we'll set up the meeting by phone or video from the safety and comfort of your own home and office, so that we can respond to your questions. There are numbers up on our screen for you now. It's 877-581-3396, or you can go to our website. But don't just sit back. Reach out for help right now. So Monica, what are some of the questions and the situations that you've seen that people have come in with over the last couple of months that are different with COVID-19?
Maybe people are concerned about what bills they should pay, what bills they shouldn't pay, like what can maybe hold off, a few months, or, are they going to lose their car even though the lenders are, suspending payments, and what's going to happen once the mortgage payments are due after they've been granted, the extension for the suspension of those payments. And, the truth is that, we don't have certain answers, for that. But I've just seen, a lot of questions coming in like that. What's next? What's going to happen when this?
I think the important thing that we talked about is that each situation is different. Mm-hmm. Every week I warn about this. In fact, I've warned about this for years. So many people, when they're looking for a bankruptcy attorney, they just think, all right, one size fits all. I'm just going to call and I want to know, what's it cost to file a Chapter 7? Mm-hmm. Well, Monica, you've only been doing this for about a year, but you know that an attorney that answers that question quickly is not concerned about that individual. They're treating that individual as a commodity, because when you call me, I don't even know that you need to file bankruptcy. You may think you need to file bankruptcy, and somebody may have told you that bankruptcy is a good idea. But my job as an attorney is to sit down with you, go through your particular situation at no charge, mm-hmm. analyze what's going on in your life. And even though I'm a bankruptcy attorney, and Monica, we've talked about this, bankruptcy should not be your first option. Right. We're going to help you look at other options. And if there are good options available, I don't want you to file a bankruptcy with me or any other attorney. But if bankruptcy is appropriate for you, there are different types of bankruptcy that impact individuals differently, that provide different types of relief. And we're here to talk to you and answer your questions. Now may not be the time for you to seek bankruptcy protection. In fact, if you're still unemployed, if you're still out of work, my advice to you may be to wait until you have a source of income, because you can only file a straight bankruptcy once every 8 years. We want to make sure things are going to be good going forward when we get rid of all your debt. So now may or may not be the time to file bankruptcy, but now is the time to plan. Now's the time to get advice. Call Monica, call our offices, any of our offices. You can schedule an appointment by calling the toll-free number on your screen now, 877-581-3396, or going to our website, and we will schedule a no-cost consultation where we'll just talk and we'll answer your questions. And we want you to know that we're here to provide good information when you are ready to act. So, Monica, one of the questions you asked, or you said that people are asking now, is what bills do I pay? You know, I think I remember another one you mentioned is, you know, if I can't make my house payments, what do I do? Do I need to move out? How quickly will I lose my home? My notes here, you know, what do they do with their stimulus check? You know, don't go waste all that money right away, because I don't know that there's going to be another stimulus check. So you want to make sure you use that money in an astute manner and with good advice. There are so many people out there that will try to take advantage of you right now. Monica, we just put up a blog post within the last week about all the different scammers that have come out specifically with COVID-19. You know, people are down. People are down, and the scammers are coming out bigger numbers than ever. Our offices have been doing this work for over 30 years. Our attorneys are some of the most experienced bankruptcy attorneys anywhere in the southeastern United States, and I'd like to think in the country, Monica. And we are here to give good advice to people during these times. So, Monica, we have had a few questions that have come in, and you and I will kind of try to answer these questions together. It's just to give people kind of a picture of what happens if you call one of our offices. And Monica, you correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but if you call one of our appointment specialists, we'll talk to you about your situation, find our office that's most convenient to you, pick a time that's convenient for you, gather just some basic information for the attorney consultation, and then set up a time either for when you're ready for an in-person consultation, or if you want to do it from the safety of your home or office, where we can set up a phone or video consultation. We can talk just like Monica and I are talking right now. And I kind of feel like it's good to see the other person's face. Maybe not my face, but Monica's face on screen while talking. We know it's hard. We know nobody really, you know, we're the last person you call. Nobody wants to call an attorney and talk about money problems. And Monica, I want you to talk to this, and just in the time you've been here, it's usually, just like I don't want to stereotype one minority group, or I don't want to stereotype with males and females, but men seem to be the most prideful. It's so hard for a man to reach out and ask for financial help. Often it's the lady that reaches out for help. Has that been your experience so far?
For the most part, for the most part, for sure. But just for everyone to know, there's no judgment. I mean, financial problems can hit anyone, and they have. I was on this road a few years back, so not, there it's just it's everyone has their own situation, but at the end of the day, life happens, and there's no judgment here. It just give it a chance. I understand not wanting to talk to complete strangers about your financial issues or your problems or, things like that. But I can promise you there hasn't been one person that I've met with that hasn't felt a sense of relief um, when they left, by the time they left the office. I mean, or by the time after they've talked to us, especially like over the phone. You don't have to, right now, we can talk over the phone, as Brad mentioned, and, discuss anything you all need to discuss as far as your finances are concerned and getting things back on track. So, it'll just really help you sleep a lot better at night if you would just be proactive about whatever is going on and talk to someone that can help you. Um, just reach out to us. There's no judgment here, and I mean, we are here to help and provide solutions. And your only task is to be proactive and getting a hold of things as fast as you can, as soon as you can.
One thing I really like about the way you interact with clients, Monica, is since we started this firm some 30 years back, it's always been important to me to treat people that come to see us like family.
Mhm.
Um, our consultations are completely confidential, but we know it's hard. And the example we've tried to set, and you followed it so greatly, and I think a lot of that has been from the time you've spent working with Suzanne Shin, who was with me just a couple of months back, or a couple of weeks back, I'm sorry, on this Facebook Live. But um, you do such a good job, and I think it's natural for you to show compassion. And when people come in, we want to treat them just like we would a family member.
Mhm.
Um, have you seen that in our offices since you've been with us, Monica?
I have, and that's why I feel right at home myself. Sometimes, I mean, my family, if they have anything going on, and they have actually, I've seen my family has come to see us, some people in my family. So not only does it feel like family to me, my family feels the same way about our office. I mean, eh, if we need to cry together, we will. I've had to cry with some clients, and I shouldn't say that to you because I'm tough and I'm strong and I'm here
Yeah.
for you, but there's really no better place, I think, to help you get through this process.
We hear some people that have very tough things going on. And if you care about people, it's hard not to become emotionally involved. But after we determine what the problem is and the challenges that individual has been through, it's our job then to help them get to a better place. And we do that. And we want our clients to know that, and people that are listening to know there are good options. And um, if you've been impacted, if you've lost your job, if company you used to work for isn't hiring anymore, if you're a small business person, like Monica said, if you run your own hair salon, if you're in the construction trade and the money's just not there like it used to be, reach out to somebody with experience. Don't respond to some kind of scam, or don't deal with somebody that you can't meet with, that isn't local. We're here. We've been here for a long time, and we're going to be here for a long time to help you. All right. So I've written down some questions here, and I want to make sure we try to respond to them. So, Monica, one person here says, um, what if I get a job again? Is it better to pay back my debt, or should I file bankruptcy? What's your initial response to that?
For me, it's a case by case issue. I would need to know where you were, what your situation was before you lost your job. Were things good, or were you paycheck to paycheck, and or whether you already had pre-existing debt that we needed to deal with, because COVID is also exposing some things as well. It's not just something that happened, and all of a sudden, we have just all this new set of issues. I think obviously it's making some things worse than they were, clearly. But I mean, again, it's just a case by case. I mean, if you were doing well and not living paycheck to paycheck, or there's just no financial issues before then, if you pick up the same type of employment and the same, you're getting that same income, bankruptcy may not be for you. However, if you're already behind and had some things going on that we needed to look into, it's we then it's just a different answer. So there's no one answer for that. We would need to look at it and talk to you.
That's an excellent response, and something I've tried to emphasize. Each of you are different. Everybody that comes to us is different, and we're going to help you with your situation. I said earlier, kind of the inverse of this question. The question was, what if I get a job again? Is it better to pay back my bills or file bankruptcy? If you still don't have a job, if you still don't have any income, it may not be the time to file bankruptcy, because we don't want to file and then have you continue to incur more debt and sink deeper, and then us not be able to file another Chapter 7 bankruptcy for 8 years. But this is an example, Monica, of where somebody maybe is back to work, maybe their income is uncertain, maybe it's not the same. Maybe this is an individual that we want to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy for. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, but Chapter 13 is an individual reorganization bankruptcy. We usually are able to file those for no money or very little money up front. And we file, and you're not discharging your debt like you are in a straight bankruptcy, but you get the protection of the bankruptcy court. The court orders all your creditors to leave you alone, and you put together a plan to pay back all or part of what you owe, but it's a plan that works for you. And you have so much more flexibility there. You can dismiss the bankruptcy. You could switch over to a straight bankruptcy if that's what was necessary. But for little or no money down, you're able to get the protection of the bankruptcy court, and you're not necessarily giving that right to seek a bankruptcy protection up going forward. Monica, we have this concern a lot. If I file bankruptcy, let me read this right. So if I file bankruptcy, will my current or previous employer find out that I'm declaring bankruptcy? Do I have to tell them?
So you don't have to tell your employer. Now, there are some employers that will ask you during that initial phase of the hiring process, whether you file bankruptcy or not. But that's that's it's public record, but that's your business. You don't have to report that to your employer at all. And if you receive some type of backlash and there wasn't anything in place for that, then there are probably some other issues going on that would need to be discussed. But
Right.
You don't have to report filing bankruptcy to your employer. That's not anything that's legally required.
Just kind of doing a segue here, but something you just said, your employer does not necessarily need to be told. They can find out because it's public record. Frankly, my experience is most employers would rather have you deal with your debt. Mm-hmm. And if you've got bills you can't pay, file bankruptcy rather than having collectors calling you at work, you dealing with that anxiety. But there is a provision in the law that says that an employer cannot discriminate against an individual because they filed bankruptcy. When I have met with clients that were members of minority groups in the past, when I've said that an employer can't discriminate because of bankruptcy, I've often kind of got that look like, oh, sure. And the law also says that they can't discriminate against me because I'm a woman or because I'm African American or because I'm Hispanic. But we all know it still goes on. But what I want people listening to know is this. If we can establish, and we're your advocate, we're your attorney, if we can establish that you were treated unfairly or differently because you sought bankruptcy protection, we're on your side and we're going to help you with that. But in the 30 years that I've done this, I don't think there have been more than a handful of cases where that has actually happened. I'm an employer in addition to being a bankruptcy attorney. And I know I don't want one of the people that works on my team to be worried about collectors calling. I don't want that individual to be up all night because they can't figure out how to pay their bills. I don't want somebody that works for me to be experiencing problems with their marriage because they're unable to pay their bills. You get the fresh start that bankruptcy provides, and you get that anxiety off of you, and often you become a better spouse. You become a better parent. You become a better worker. You just become a better individual because that stress and that anxiety that money problems bring with them goes away. All right, so Monica, a question here. What does it cost to file bankruptcy?
Again, I mean, that's a case by case issue. We clearly know that our clients are coming in with financial, problems, and they need solutions to those problems. So it obviously won't be, it's not costly to the point to where, you can't, afford it. But, it's based on the individual, and it's definitely worth your time and our time to discuss what all you would have going on so that we could know what's necessary to represent you in your bankruptcy filing. So there's no set number, and anybody who sets a number, for any of you all, I would question that, because there's no one number for all these different situations. I mean, so, whether you're being overcharged or, if you're undercharged, you're probably underserved. So to answer that question in short, it would be best to just contact our office, and we discuss what issues you have going on and go from there.
Right.
And oftentimes, one more thing, I'm so sorry, Brad,
That's
but
all right.
with the attorney's fees, depending on how you file, there may not be any upfront costs. So I think that's very important to mention. It's paid through the case. Once you're on your feet, and we have a repayment plan set up, for instance, in the Chapter 13. So, I mean, the answer you can pay. The answer is it's just it depends.
We're going to work with your situation. If you need relief quickly and you don't have money, then it may be that we file a reorganization type bankruptcy that will allow you to pay what you owe, including your attorney's fees over time. If you need to file a straight bankruptcy, we do payment plans. We'll work with you on that. But it's not fair for me to charge you if you've just got a few credit cards and you're behind on your mortgage, the same that I would be charging somebody that's been operating their own business and has all kinds of different commercial accounts and different more complex issues. That's why we want to meet you and talk to you about your situation. And, you need to take advantage of that free initial consultation if you're out there with money problems, and use this time now. If you're away from work, take advantage of this time you have. Be proactive, reach out. And I always encourage people, don't just call us. This is an important decision. Bankruptcy is something, if you're going to do it, there are going to be a lot of implications, a lot of things, both bad and good, are going to happen to you. So you want to make sure that you talk to couple of different attorneys, and that you feel good about the one you hire. Most of us offer free consultation, so interview us all. Make sure you find the right person. So Monica, we've covered a lot today. I want to say some things in conclusion here, but I especially want to thank you for participating today, and for responding to the questions, and just for having this dialogue with me.
Mm-hmm.
We feel very strongly at Bond and Bodis that everybody deserves the advice of a good attorney. That's why we offer free initial consultations, and that's why we'll talk about all of your options, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or you sweep streets. Whatever you do, you're important to us, and whatever your background is, we want to help you, and we're going to do that here at Bond and Bodis. And Monica is an example of the compassionate, caring attorneys we have here at Bond and Bodis. Although she said she didn't want to tell me that she had shed tears over some of our client situations, I know you well enough, Monica, to know that's probably happened more than just a couple of times. But then, folks, once she gets through that, she's going to be a fierce advocate for you and make sure you get the relief that you're entitled to. So all of our attorneys are like that. Again, we're doing these Facebook Live presentations weekly, every Wednesday, 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you know of somebody that could benefit from the advice and the information that we give here, please let them know about these broadcasts. And all of the previous broadcasts we've done, today's broadcast will be available that you can listen to later on our Facebook pages. We just want to be here to help you. Our phone number on your screen, 877-581-3396. One of our dedicated appointment specialists will answer and will help you out, or you can go to our website for more information and schedule an appointment there. But we're here for you, and we will be here for you. Until next week, I just want you to remember, folks, living in fear, living in silence is not the solution. Choose to focus on your dreams. Choose to stay in control of your future. Choose to take action to protect your families and your loved ones. Choose to exercise your American right to seek bankruptcy relief if that's what is going to be necessary to get your life and your family's life back on track. We're here to help you. Please give us a call. On behalf of all of us with the Bond and Bodis Law Offices, Monica and I thank you for participating today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, Monica.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.